Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we are going to be flying the Baron G-58. I have been approached with a request to possibly make this the next tutorial guide that I do for my PDF guides, which can be found on my Patreon site, link down in the description below. So I figured, well, in order to answer that question, I need to fly the aircraft. So today we're going to be using what I believe to be a real-world pilot's operational checklist and taking the aircraft up from a cold and dark state, doing some touch and goes, flying a couple of patterns, and bringing her back in. So stick around, guys, because at the very least, this should be very entertaining watching me crash a Baron. If you are interested in acquiring my Overkill's Cessna Citation Longitude guide from Microsoft Flight Simulator, consider joining my Patreon site at level tier 2 or above. That's $10 or more, which will give you access to all of the Overkill tutorial guides. Please keep in mind, with Patreon, you do not have to subscribe each and every month. Once you subscribe, you will be charged $10. You will have access to all of the guides, and if you wish, you can then cancel the subscription, and you will maintain access to Patreon until the first of the following month. So, with that in mind, let's talk about what this guide is. This guide gives you a full flight tutorial from Boston to Minneapolis. It also walks you through installing any modifications that I use for this aircraft, a full cockpit tutorial, breaking down how to create your flight plan using SimBrief, which is a free service, and then completing the flight successfully. If there are any questions, you're always welcome to give feedback, as joining my Patreon site gives you access to my Discord channel as well, giving you direct access and communication to me. So once again, if you guys are interested, please consider joining the Patreon. It definitely helps support the channel and keeps the content coming, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Alright, so before we get started, I do want to remind everybody that twice a week now I will be streaming on Twitch. That link can be found in the description below. For those of you who don't know, Twitch is a live streaming service specifically designed for that purpose, and it gives you the opportunity to chat with me real time. So it's a lot of fun. I love it when you guys hang out. We've already done a couple. So make sure you guys subscribe to the Twitch channel and check out the Twitch schedule. Right now we're looking at, let's see, I believe it was Wednesday and Friday nights. So make sure you guys check that out, and then of course there'll be a couple pop-ups in between there. But anyway, it'd be fun to be able to just sit and talk with you guys real time, so be sure to take a look at that. Alright, so getting into the checklist here, we're going to start with the before engine start services or procedures, as we obviously can't do the external checks and things like that. So well, I figured that'd be a good place to start. So what I've got here is I've got passenger briefing, seats positioned and locked, seat backs upright in normal position. Normal and emergency exits. Instruct passengers on how to open them. So, guys, if it's an emergency, open the door. Push the button, turn the handle, jump out. Okay, good. Glad we covered that. All right. And then let's start walking through some things. I'm going to hide the yokes for a minute, as I'm not particularly familiar with this aircraft, so we're going to have to work our way around it. But let's see what we got here. We have parking brake set. There's a parking brake. Pulled. Yep, pulled the lock. Alright, parking brake is set. Avionics master is off. Are those on? No, okay. Avionics master switch is off. Where were we? Alternate static, yep, right there. Alternate static air pressure source. We're supposed to be able to open it to drain it and then close it. Landing gear lever is down. Fuel selector valves are on. And cowl flaps, it's got to be, yeah, that's got to be those. Yep, cowl flaps are opened for engine start. And let's see here, all circuit breakers. So here's all of our circuit breakers here, and if they were modeled, they are also over here. So they were all push it and close. We verified that, we're good to go. Beacon switch comes on, and then battery and alternator switches. So there's left battery, left alternator, right alternator. The PFD comes on, PFD is on. All right, and now we got to set our flight controls. Set my Thrustmaster Warthog up for this, so it took me a second. Okay, so by the way, because again, we are supposed to be finding a house and trying to move here, unfortunately most of the cool flight sim gear has been put away. So we're using the Thrustmaster Warthog today, which means we're going to have one axis controlling all the mixture, one controlling the prop, and one controlling both throttles. So for the checklist portion of this, we'll be doing this manually. So we have mixture to full rich. Now we can do that with both of them. That's not going to hurt anything. And we can set the propellers to high RPM. All right. And then throttle, we're going to go full open. So let's start with the right engine. And we're going to go fuel boost pump to high. Now what we're going to be doing is watching the, where are you? Fuel flow, here it is right here. And when we turn the fuel pumps on to high, we should see the fuel flow peak on the right engine. Once it does, we need to go to throttle to cutoff, and the fuel pump gets turned off, and then we'll walk through the engine start. So let's see if we see that modeled here. So right boost pump to high, it did peak indeed. So now we're going to go throttle to the cutoff position, and then turn off the fuel pump. And now we can start the procedure for starting the right engine. So after going to cutoff, we want the throttle to be 1/2 inch open. And we're going to take our engine starter and give that a crank. There's our RPMs, and we should stabilize at about 1,000 RPMs. Oh, see, and it's moving the left one. So let me move this manually. Oh, it went too high. All right, that's close enough for now. And we can clear that master caution. The pitot heat is indicating as off. And then now, with one engine starter, we want to make sure the oil pressure has gone at least to 10 psi within 10 seconds. There it is right there. Or 20 seconds, excuse me. And then the voltometer, we want to make sure that there's a charge on it. Zoom in a little bit here. And then we are checking the alternator to make sure there's a load, which there is. So we're good there. And then now we can use the same procedures to start the other engine. So again, kicking the left fuel pump, boost pump on, throttle to high, fuel flow increased, back to cutoff, engine primed, boost pumps off, throttle cracked, about 1/2 inch, and cycling on the left engine. Engine is alive. And now I can use both throttles. Let's sort of equalize them here. Okay. And once again, verifying gauges look correct. Looks good. Okay, that's increasing. Good. Okay, so now let's see where we're at here. All right, so the engine is started. So we have a bunch of different procedures on this checklist here. Engine start flooded, and then here's after engine start. So here we go. All right, so after engine start, throttles to 1100 to 1000 RPMs, so that's good. And oil pressure, again, 10 PSI, we got that. Alternators are on, oh, after engine starts, rereading the same checklist. All right, so avionics power needs to come on. So there's the avionics master. This will bring up the MFD. Start the Garmin, there we go. Engine readouts are back. Lights on as required. There we go, lights. So let's turn our nav lights on. Let's come down here because I can't really see what's underneath the switches. Panel lights, okay, that's interior, good. Floodlights, oh, that's bright. And what's that one? Ice lights, I think, is what that looks like. Taxi, landing, and landing. Okay, good. All right, so we've got our nav lights on, our beacon lights on. That's all we need for the moment until we're ready to taxi. Let's see here. And then next is the before takeoff checklist. So let's see here. Let's go sort of run through it real quick. So before takeoff, parking brake is set, seat belts are set, shoulder restraints are on, auxiliary fuel pumps are off. And then flight controls will make sure are free and clear. Flight instruments check and set. Fuel quantity needs to be checked. Mixtures to rich. Fuel selector valves are on. Cowl flaps are open. Trim tabs are going to be set for takeoff. Throttles to 2200 RPMs. And propeller exercise. Do not move control lever past the feather detent. Unfortunately, I can't see the feather detent in the moment, but we'll see if we can't track that down in a minute. And let's see here. Flaps check, transponder. All right, cool. All right, so pretty simple. Make sure throttles, landing, climb, airspeed. I'm just walking through the next couple steps, so we're staying ahead of it. There's our climb instructions. Airspeed. Okay, cool. All right, now the other thing that I believe that we do want that I don't see on this checklist, but if memory serves, we do want the prop sync turned on. So we'll find out more about that at a later time. Pitot heat, we'll go ahead and turn it on as we're getting ready to go. Let's set our barometric pressure. We're just going to use B on the keyboard, but you could set it with the baro knob here. All right, so we're looking at 3013 on the altimeter today. And let's take a quick span of what we got going on here. So obviously we have our electrical system here, avionics master switch, prop sync, pitot heat. This is going to be our anti-ice system, your magnetos, annunciator test. Does it work? Nope. We found our lights. This is air conditioning and cabin comfort. Fuel boost pumps we talked about. We need to make sure we have 3 greens on the landing gear. We're good to go there, so it's locked and secured. That's going to be elevator trim. This is, climate control. So again, cabin comfort. Rudder trim, aileron trim, cowl flaps, fuel selection, flap handle, and panel lights. It's kind of convenient. Instrument floods. All right, and that's all lighting control. We have our steam gauge or steam speedometer there, attitude director indicator, and altimeter. Obviously the autopilot control panels and comm control panels here for the G1000, our primary flight display and multifunction display. All right, good stuff. So let us get back into a different camera view. And why is there a police car over here? I didn't do anything. Anyway, so now let's go ahead and take a look at taxi and takeoff. All right, so let's go ahead and set our taxi light. Now I want to remind everybody this is not a tutorial. It's more exploratory. I'm going to be learning very much so in this flight, so we're just going to see how it flies and go from there. And if you guys are aware of any good mods for this aircraft, please let me know. You guys know I'm always about the mods. I feel like I'm right in the face of this thing. There we go. All right, so let's taxi out. Alright, and one thing we should probably do is at least find out what the active runway is. So, winds 262. It's probably from runway 27, but let's see what it says. Oh, come on, scroll faster. Three, 2. All right, so let's see here. 3, 2, gotcha. All right, so a little bit of a taxi ahead of us. That's all right. Half the fun, right? Looks like we're using primarily differential braking for taxiing. The rudders don't have, well, I guess you just really got to push it, but they don't have a ton of authority. Alright, so we're approaching runway 32 now. Let's go ahead and hold short for a second. And let's see what we've got here. So obviously we want to make sure flight controls are free and clear. No concerns there. Now again, because of having to use the mouse, we are going to remove the yokes. And let's see here. So flight controls are set. Flight instruments are also set. We set those already. Cow flaps are open. Trim set for takeoff. Trying to read what that says. Let's see one. Slight nose up there. Oops. Okay. And let's see here. We also need to set our transponder. Been a minute since I've done that, not gonna lie. Those are comm, nav radios. Where is the transponder in this thing? I don't remember the G1000 having it built in. Oh, I know where it is. There we go. Transponder code. Let's make sure we're on 1200. And let's go back and turn it on and do altitude reporting. Okay. Alright, so flaps need to be set for flaps 1 for takeoff. Avionics, again, frequencies are checked. Strobe lights turned on. Doors and windows are all set. And we're ready to take the runway. All right. So at this point, again, cow flaps open, throttles, we're going to go full open. We're looking for rotation speed of about 85 knots. We'll be climbing at 105 knots. Looking for 25 inches on the manifold pressure and 2,500 RPMs. So let's go max power. Release the brakes. Whoa, watching that left torque. Coming up at 85 knots. There's 85, rotating. Positive rate. Gear up. 20 knots past rotate, flaps up. Wrong way, there we go. And we're gonna look for that 105 knots of climb. 105 knots is going to be ridiculous in this thing, so I don't know how much I agree with that. And let's see what our powers are set. Well, let's see here. Let's set for 25, which is manifold pressure. And we're going to look for 2,500 RPMs. So that would explain that. I was at max power, so that makes more sense. Let's go ahead and level out here. Go cow flaps closed now. We are still climbing, so let's get out of this climb. Trimming nose down. And for cruise, we're looking for 2,300 RPMs, 23 inches manifold pressure. So 23 inches on the manifold pressure. About 2,300 RPMs. All right. I know it gets a little crazy, you know, having to try to use the track IR, keep the aircraft level, things like that. Later videos, I promise, will stabilize here as I get more familiar and comfortable with the aircraft, but it's one of those things. Wow. Turbulence is good. Give a little bit of climb on that just to make sure we don't eat this mountain. Mixture, let's see what happens if we start pulling mixture back. We're looking for a fall off in RPM is what I use as sort of a rule of thumb. So there's the fall off, so then I add it back until we keep it. Make sure our numbers stay the same. 23, oh, we're a little still high on the manifold pressure. So throttle coming back a hair, there we go. Trying to trim it out for level flight here. I don't want to use the autopilot. I'm trying to see how it flies. $174 knots. That's not bad. Oof. Bumpy out here. Anyone interested, we are at Charlie Yankee Juliet. Is the airport that we're coming out of. So far, I'm really enjoying this aircraft, especially for a default aircraft without any modification. With the exception, I mean, obviously the working title G1000, but I mean, I don't know if that really counts. You know, that's an avionics update, has nothing to do with the flight model or the aircraft performance. But it is really nice. Very hands-on when not using the autopilot, that's for sure. And I'm sure the turbulence isn't helping at all. There's our airfield. Alright, so let's start taking a look at some procedures for landing this thing, and we'll see how touch and goes go. So first I'm going to be looking for 1,500 feet. And for the descent, we want to avoid anything above 120 knots. We want to make sure we stay above 18 inches of manifold pressure. We're going to go into full mixture. So we're right on it. And let's see here. RPMs. It's not really telling me anything for RPMs. So I suppose we could just pull them back for now. Although, past the runway one, well, we can just go around. Not worried about flying the pattern yet today. Just want to see what landing it's like. And below 152 knots, we can go flaps 15 for the approach. Landing gear down also below 152 knots, so we'll go ahead and bring it in. Ah, come on, track hire, don't mess with me. There we go. Definitely doesn't like to slow down. So I'm having to bring the throttles back. I have to. We're not going to slow down enough. Below 122 knots, I can now go full flaps. Looking for 90 knots on the approach. Back to full prop. Ooh. All right, let's go flaps takeoff. Positive rate, gear coming up. And let's start pulling some power back. At 23 inches, 2300 RPMs. Let's do that one more time and we'll do a full stop. Let's see if we can't do a better approach. So looks like we're looking for 95 knots on the approach speed, and then once committed, once we cross the threshold, you know, about looks like about 20 feet from what I can tell, we want to kill the throttle. So let's try that again and see how that works. Again, I'm probably going to have to find a bit better numbers on that. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to go for 85 knots on the approach speed, as I feel like that's going to make for a better approach here. So again, I'm going to pull RPM back. See if we can't slow her down a bit more efficiently this time. Now we're below 153 knots, so I can go... Oh, never bumped it up, so I guess we want to keep flaps 1. I thought I had kicked it up, but apparently it did not come up. So I feel like the drag is lacking a lot in this aircraft, so let's go ahead and go with prop pitch. We'll kill the prop pitch to slow us down here. Let's go gear down again. And I also missed our landing lights. That's a fail. I turned it off with my thrustmaster. So again, I gotta pull the throttle back past 18 inches. There's no way that I can get it to slow down enough. It's going to be a bit of a tight turn. Came in a little shallow on my base turn there. Below 122 knots, we can go full flaps. Alright, now below 122 knots, it doesn't say anything about the throttle being, the manifold pressure being down too low. I'm going to go back to max pitch. There's that 85 knots-ish approach speed. Let's look for more like 90 and see what that does. That seems to be better. Nice easy descent. A little fast. Yeah, it's going to take some getting used to. Definitely. Ooh. A little hard on that one. A little hard on that one. Alright, flaps up. Exit the runway here. Come on, baby. Turn. Turn, 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 turn. So, definitely fun to fly. We're definitely going to be back in it. I'm not sure the real world numbers are working well for it, but given the fact this is my first time flying it, I can guarantee that my flying was not helping. I wasn't maintaining my position very well. I wasn't monitoring altitude nearly as well as I should have. So all of those are going to obviously contribute to how quickly the aircraft accelerates or decelerates. This area is so messed up. I think I'm just going to park it over here. But definitely an interesting aircraft. We'll definitely be planning some cross countries in it. I think for the next flight we'll do a full flight. We'll fly somewhere with it. I like its cruise speed. It's a fast little plane. Definitely fast. 170 knots. That ain't too bad at all. All right, so let's set that parking brake. Oh, darn it. Why is that switch not working? All right, let's turn the taxi light off. And let's take a real quick look at the shutdown procedures here. All right, so parking brake is set. Propellers to high RPM. Throttles at 1,000 RPMs. All right, and auxiliary fuel boost pumps are off. Lights, except for the beacon light, needs to be turned off. So strobe light obviously should have been off when I exited the runway. I was too busy talking. Nav lights off, taxi light off. I swear, didn't you guys just see me flip that? I thought I just turned the taxi light off. Anyway, I must not be using my mouse correctly. And then mixtures, bring them back to idle and cut off. Engine 1 down, engine 2 down, clear that master caution. All right, and now let's go through here, and we want pitot heat off, magnetos off, and let's see here. We would install our control locks at this point, verify landing gear lights down in green, ignition switches off after the engines turned off. We did that, and then now the prop sync off, avionics master switch off. I hate that it does this. And then we have the alternators, come on, and the batteries. All right, so that is a cold and dark aircraft. I'm sure I missed a few things. Again, this is the first time flying it that I can recall. I probably flew it at some other point, you know, just messing around, but never took the time to actually dive in and see what the aircraft was about. I did enjoy flying it, and we're just gonna have to see what happens moving forward. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys have any tips and tricks or any further information, by all means, please feel free to add it. And until next time, guys, as always, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.